Our session today is on Utility 2.0, Perfect Power for Montgomery County. I want to share a few opening thoughts before we begin. Today we will hear from national leaders on how Montgomery County could serve as a national pilot for what an electric utility of the future could look like. Few initiatives are more important to our community or more timely, and few communities are more deserving of serving as a national pilot. It has been said that a crisis is a terrible thing to waste, and I think it is fair to say that the extent of unreliable service our community has endured long since reached crisis proportions. In the short term, we must, and we will, continue our efforts to increase reliability and accountability. As the governor has suggested, we need to strengthen our reliability standards so that PEPCO is held accountable for not only keeping the lights on during sunny days, but that power is restored within a reasonable time frame after a storm. We need critical investments that will make the system more resilient and responsive. And as the Maryland Public Service Commission has recently concluded, PEPCO's financial returns should be directly linked to how well it performs its fundamental obligations to our residents. But what is also increasingly clear today is that over the long term, we need a very different kind of utility service. Our current system was born of a different era. Not only is the infrastructure antiquated, the utility paradigm itself is antiquated. Both the business model and the regulatory structure are sorely out of date. In an era of smartphones, we have the equivalent of the old rotary phone. It is not only antiquated, it is increasingly vulnerable, not only to storms like the hurricane that could hit us on Monday, but to cybersecurity attacks as well. We are grateful for the leadership of the governor, who has recognized the importance of bold action in this critical realm. One of the recommendations of the governor's recently released Reliability Task Force report was as follows, and I quote, "The task force recommends that the governor formally charge the Energy Future Coalition with scoping out a Utility 2.0 pilot proposal and reporting back to the governor and the task force by March 15, 2013 on a viable method to explore the contours of the utility of the future. The task force concurs with the analysis offered by the Energy Future Coalition that this is a transformative time in Maryland's energy future and that big, bold thinking is required." Our meeting today begins the process of conceptualizing what Utility 2.0 in Montgomery County might look like. We will learn from the leadership of the Energy Fuel Coalition what is driving the need for a new utility model. We will hear from the leaders of the Perfect Power movement, how they have worked with other communities across the country, and the increased reliability and other customer benefits that Perfect Power produces. And we will gain a better understanding of the regulatory and institutional challenges that must be overcome by a former State Regulatory Commission chairman. Indeed, it is this last piece, the regulatory and institutional issues, that will arguably require the most attention. Fundamentally, most of the technology that we envision already exists, and where this technology has been deployed most successfully is in the context of public power. To do this successfully in the context of a regulated investor-owned utility, we will need to have the active cooperation of PEPCO. That is why I invited them here today so that they can more fully understand our aspirations for our energy future. This is the second such meeting. They were active participants in the first roundtable discussion of national and Maryland energy leaders hosted by the Energy Future Coalition a number of months ago on this same topic. In my somewhat inelegant phrase, what we don't want to do is spend hundreds of millions of dollars just to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And while I have been a harsh critic of PEPCO's failure to meet its most basic utility obligation, this is a horse of a different color. What we are seeking now is something very different from their institutional culture and business model. And if we are going to ask them to cooperate with us in this bold undertaking that is so different from their current operations, we are going to need to work with them so that Utility 2.0 not only delivers benefits to our residents, but is a national success story that other communities will emulate. The proponents of perfect power here with us today have articulated the challenge in the following manner in their pamphlet, An Electric Revolution, Reforming Monopolies, Reinventing the Grid, and Giving Power to the People. America is at a critical inflection point, a metaphorical 1776 of energy. We can choose to maintain the grid as it now exists and is regulated, a course favored by most incumbent monopoly stakeholders who are as figuratively entrenched in law and society as was the British monarchy of the 1700s. Or we can reinvent the system to best serve the needs of consumers. The nation, in fact, has an unprecedented opportunity to create a 21st century grid that operates far more intelligently, reliably, efficiently, and cost-effectively. It would stimulate the economy and expedite the development of clean energy while reducing the need for new conventional power plants. Most important, it would give consumers ultimate control over their electricity use and cost. It is a revolution that would compel utilities to evolve, to focus more on consumer needs and service quality." End quote. That is a future Montgomery County residents richly deserve. Working with the Energy Future Coalition, PEPCO, consumers, and other stakeholders in the months ahead, I am confident that we can create a viable yet bold pilot that will put us on that path. Today, we begin. And I am so grateful that we are beginning with really the top leadership in the country, the thought leaders that are before us today. Mr. Jemison of the Energy Future Coalition, Mr. Yeager of the Galvin Electric Institute, Mr. John Kelly also, and of course, Mr. Ron Binns, who was the former chairman of the Colorado State Public Service Commission. We have extraordinary expertise here that they will share their thoughts on how we in Montgomery County can move forward in this bold way. Mr. Jemison, I turn to you, sir.